Dr. Toni Reilly, and Coco is here with me for this episode. Just a warning, we will be discussing death by suicide in this episode. Thanks for joining me, Coco.
Thank you. I'm super, excited to discuss this topic. So yeah, can't wait.
Okay, and it's our intention in each episode of the Awake the Purpose of Life podcast to share real life stories so that it helps you to understand how the purpose of life works and how trauma impacts your mission in life. So through specialising in facilitating thousands of transcendent visits to past lives and in between lives and to the afterlife, and my personal experiences and Coco's personal experiences, we can help you understand the purpose of life and the reasons for incarnating. So it might sound all a bit out there, but I can assure you it's much simpler than it sounds. So through each guest's story, their recall session will help you to understand why we are here. So in this episode, we are not wasting any time to get into the misunderstood aspects of life. So this show features a recall session exploring a past life and visit in between lives. Our guest, Abbey, is warm and candid, and her son died by suicide 3 years ago at the tender age of 17. So her perspective is a very surprising, enlightened view of why this tragedy weaved its way into her purpose in life.
Just on that, today, for this episode, we want to get the message across and trying to share a new perspective on things that we as people perceive as tragic, whereas those who have actually had experiences around this can have, I guess, a different perspective on it and can hopefully have a lighter view. So we're hoping to share that with everyone if they haven't had a personal experience with it. But just a reminder, we are delving into death by suicide in this episode.
Yeah, so if you can post your comments, if you have any experiences to share, do post them in the comments, but we'll come back to them towards the end of the show and after the interview. For now, let's listen to what Abbey has to share with us. So we actually recorded this interview some weeks ago, so please bear with me while I just start the interview for you to listen to. One moment, please. And we will see you after the interview. And we're going to dive deep into this. So thanks for coming on the show, Abbey.
Lovely to see you again, Toni.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself? I know that you have a very spiritual outlook on life and your work is around helping people, and you and your family have also had some unexpected loss and experiences. So if you can talk to us a little bit about those.
No worries. Well, look, born and bred a Mackay girl, haven't moved too far, so always been in this area. Feeling at the moment like I have a purpose to the community, and at the moment that's in the healing realm, which I obviously discussed with you as well. Look, I've owned my own business. I've been in banking and finance. I actually started to study nursing, and everything's kind of, I guess, Toni guided me towards let's just say I've had a little pause at the moment. So between the nursing, I guess I decided that wasn't for me and to go more the natural route. So I still feel like healing is definitely something that I would love to do. It's definitely part of my heart and my story. So yeah, but nursing obviously in the conventional way wasn't where I felt, and I've kind of been pushed into more that natural side. So we'll see where it takes us.
Excellent. And I think I'd forgotten that we talked about the nursing realms, and not obviously to degrade anything that's going on, but it is really interesting that such a helping modality that we assume is going to be all about helping, and we see people who are natural nurturers in those roles, but there's a whole lot of admin and things that I think no one's expecting that come with that that job or that role, that profession. But still, nurses, they say, the most loved people on the planet. Kind of, I guess, with people in their time of where they're there to help them through something when they're battling their health issues. So interesting. So how about this past life that you recall the other day? Could you share with us what happened and I guess what it felt like to you, and tell us about that experience and who you were and all of those details?
Yeah, okay. So obviously it was my first time, Toni, so I've never had this done before. Was very open, obviously, to having it done, but I had no expectations. I just made sure that I went in there with no expectations and I was just going to let whatever happen. So I think that was a good starting point. And then, as you mentioned earlier, I did just in quiet time / meditation asked for just anything to come in that would help me with my higher purpose and to fulfill my soul contract. So yeah, it was super interesting that when I went into the regression, so the process itself, Toni, I found it easy with you guiding through that initial step to get to that level that we needed to be at in that relaxed state. So I found that I was a little bit daunted about that, but that was quite easy. You stepped us through that really nicely. So that was good. I'm not a very visual person, yet I could still see within the regression, but maybe not as vividly as some people normally would. I find that my other senses come into play a little bit. So that's what I felt like, a lot of my other senses. So maybe that's why I paused a little bit, because I was really trying to get that true sense. But look, I ended up being a little boy when we first went in. I think we started at maybe about that 8 to 10 age. So I was of African descent. I came in on my own. So, and then I guess we went, you took me through different stages. So it was kind of tribal. That's the feeling I got from what we were wearing or lack of wearing. And then I guess we went back. So then we went to the house, and then I realized that my grandmother was actually looking after me at that stage, and I'm actually not sure where my parents were. I didn't get to that point, so maybe that's something I didn't need to know. And then as you stepped through further, we went to kind of like an early teen, maybe a 14, 15 kind of age group, where I started to go into like a healing medicine, kind of realm, I guess. So I had a teacher. So it was like an elder of the tribe who was actually then teaching nurturing. So he took me off into different areas, into forest land, things like that, and started to teach. Then we went further. So I think the next one, I was a young adult. So found out that I was married. I had 4 children. So I feel like 2 of them were twins, like the boy-girl. Maybe were twins, and then there was 2 other girls. So there was 3 girls, boy. They were quite young at this stage. And the grandma was still there helping. And then we jumped, and I guess at that point there was this amazing connection with those kids, and you could feel the love for the wife and the kids, and just a real family person. Then we jumped again a little bit further, and the wife actually was sick and had died. So that was actually quite weird, that part, because I could feel that. Like I could literally feel that. I teared up a little bit. So I don't know, maybe that was something that I needed to release as well, Toni. So at that point, the wife died, and it was a massive burden on him being in that medicinal, in that healing realm. He couldn't help her. I got tingles when I even say that now.
Me too. Goosebumps.
Yes, and that was very heavy on him, obviously. And then we jumped again, and the kids were older, but he actually just took himself off to where he was originally learning his healing and things like that, and he took the potion and he went to sleep.
He did.
So yeah.
Yes. So interesting that we're going to talk a little bit about how that fits into your life now, but it was I've got my notes here. I write everything down when we do sessions, but I think a few things that you talked about there is first of all, before we even get into the life, talking about the senses and what it feels like to relax down. And when you get in there, not everyone sees, but most people see, but it's experienced through your sixth sense, if you like. So if you see, it's in your mind's eye, but often the knowing and the sensation of feeling is stronger even than the visuals. But one way or another, the big thing that's usually a clincher that you're not making it up is the emotion, because it comes in there and you didn't invite it in, it's just there. It goes with whatever's going on. And sometimes I feel like the emotion comes for a bit of a truth thing, as opposed to that you're even sad or anything. These tears roll down, and I believe that it happens because it's true. Just like we just both got the goosebumps there where you're talking about that scene. So yeah, moving through all the scenes, starting when you're an African boy, and of course you're him through the whole thing, but going on to have a family, and you were very, very proud and close to your family. It seemed like it was where all your love and energy went, to those people. And I think something that we find with these tribal lives, when people recall them, they seem to be, I think because they're quite simple, and that connection with family and potentially the others in the tribe is so strong. And it seems like those lives are quite, well, just lovely, simple and lovely. And I think we're so different in Western culture now, where we're busied up with a lot of things, but those lives seem to be simple and I guess helped us to feel that sensation of being close with the family. But it was super exciting because I know what you're interested in and what you do work in now. It was very cool for this to be your first time and to see you being taught to collect things from the forest. So from memory, there were plants and leaves, and maybe even, I can't remember if you had fungus, but certainly plants and leaves where you knew, or he taught you, that elder taught you what to do with them, what to smell to fix certain things, what to rub on the skin. And also, I think you were making like poultice or other topical, what we call them, potions or medicines to go on people. So were you surprised to see that?
Yeah, I was a little bit. Yeah. As I say, I think a big part of it was going in with no expectations. So I was just, whatever happened, I was just going to let it flow. So yeah, look, I wasn't expecting that at all. And like you just said, when you're using your other senses, and that's what I really felt was when I was being taught about medicines and things like that they were using, he was really making me touch things, feel things, smell things. So yeah, it was really using all those senses.
Yeah.
I found that very cool. And yes, he did. He crushed a lot of stuff, and a lot of it was used topically. So yeah, that was interesting.
So cool. And I mean, the coolest thing is knowing that you work with, what should we call it? Alchemy, creating potions and things for people now to help them. And then when you go and see yourself in a past life doing something, it's the same or similar, but from long ago, when we didn't really have the things that we have now to incorporate. So it's at the grassroots, literally at the grassroots or the plant roots. So it's really, really amazing. And I think, gosh, I'm just looking at these notes so that I don't forget what I want to prompt with you. Gosh, Abbey, when one of the most important things that happens in a past life is the death scene. When we reach it, it's where when you die as the person you were in the past life, we get direct communication with your soul, who knows exactly what that life was about, and also it knows exactly what this life is about, and all the others. But what happens when you pass over, or also the actual death scene and how you pass, or how people pass in their past lives, is sometimes, if not always, relevant to what's going on for them now. So I think it was so interesting because from memory, he felt ready. No, actually, I'm remembering even more now. He took himself off because he'd lost his wife and felt a failure because he actually was the tribal healer and he wasn't able to save his wife. And it burdened him. And I can remember you describing how that felt in the regression, to not be able to fix her and save her. So I think what happened there also, I feel like you mentioned that when your teacher died, it felt a burden in some ways to be responsible for not only your family, but the tribe, for keeping them, I guess, well. And so something that's it sounds so lovely, it can have a different feeling around it when it's all up to you or all up to him.
Yeah, like and I think I explained it to you. You could just tell, like, my heart, like, it felt heavy. You could just feel that he had that weight on his shoulders, and his heart just felt heavy. And yeah, because he couldn't do what he thought he should be able to do, I guess, and that was to heal, and particularly his wife. So yeah, that was really heavy for him. Yeah.
Yeah. God, it gives me goosebumps all up.
It's funny, I'm getting them as well, yeah.
Yeah. To me, those bumps, I call them truth bumps, actually, because I feel like when we're talking about something that's really true, it's an affirmation of it. But also, I think what something that I discovered through all these years of working with people is grief is a huge part of our mission in life, this mission and those missions, all of them. And I feel like what happened in your past life was a really good representation for us to talk about, because when his wife died, he was so in grief and feeling disappointed in himself because he wasn't able to save her. Pretty sure you said he felt a failure because he wasn't able to save her. But then what happens is that grief, it didn't leave him. And so because he knew what plants or herbs or leaves to mix together, he went off and took himself out of that life. I've had enough. And I remember you described going off into the forest, the same forest where he'd learned all his skills or was taught all his skills, and where he would collect his leaves and things from. And you put a mixture together so that he went to sleep. So, I mean, if you remember back to that being the end of his life, how did it feel to you? Was it calm? Was he calm? Or, yeah, what did it feel like?
Yeah, look, there definitely wasn't any trauma. Like, the heaviness come when he felt that he couldn't save his wife. But at that end point, it was calm. It was nearly a relieving. Yeah, he was very calm. He was ready. He
was ready.
Yeah, so it was, if you can say a death can be peaceful and on his terms, I guess it was definitely it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so beautifully articulated how you say that. So there's a few things that I want to talk to you about now. It's to do with your purpose, and maybe my question to you is, what do you feel your purpose is, and did it change after this session?
I don't think it's changed as such. I think it's been a long journey maybe to find where I wanted to be. As I say, like I've done a lot in different areas, went into nursing, and that to me just wasn't quite the area that I felt that I could nurture. I could, use my empathy and my knowledge to help people. So I think from there, that was my big turning point was, and Toni, I could never have been a nurse when I first left school. A lot of nurses and they're like, that's all I've ever wanted to be and that's all I will be. That definitely was not me. I could never have done that then. I feel like, I keep saying it was kind of my midlife crisis that I went into nursing, and it was interesting, like avenues that I actually got there, but I was ready. And it was definitely that time in my life that I felt that I could really help people. So it was not the right atmosphere for me. There was just a lot of alarm bells that rung to me. It wasn't for me. So I guess that's where I've gone to more the natural side. There's still a lot of options within that realm though, Toni, and I haven't pigeonholed myself into any very specific areas in there. So I feel like the regression has told me not to pigeon myself in things, just not come to me in the right time. So I know I'm going in the right direction, and I think as long as I stay open, I'll be guided within to little niches within. So I think it's helped in that. Yeah. In that area. Yeah.
I think I'm remembering one of the things we always do in regression is ask for a message from your soul. So in your case, it came from the African man that you were in that life. And I'm going to remind you what you said. Maybe you can remember it, but I wrote it down word for word. So your message from him was, you can't fix everybody. You can give it your all, but don't make that the main priority. Let go, do your best. Know that you've helped a lot of people. And I wonder, to receive that message from your soul, did that give you some peace? Or how was it something you already felt was true anyway?
No, I felt that was really relevant to me, Toni, because I guess when you get into healing, you want to do everything for everybody. And it's not possible. I guess people have to be in that frame of mind as well. I guess we discussed that later as well. But with the healing, a lot of it's spiritual, it's mental. So
just relevant to you, right?
Absolutely. So yes, and I've always been one that when I throw myself into something, I guess it's all in, and maybe my expectations sit far too high. So I think it maybe lowered my expectations, and I think it was in a good way that I could just understand that you can do your very best. Absolutely, but people have to be willing as well. So I guess there's a level that you kind of meet there, and that's what the ending kind of reminded me of.
Yeah. Oh. Abbey, I know that you had a big experience with one of your children. You've got some amazing kids, but one of them. And I wonder how you feel about us discussing what happened in relation to this past life and this message that you were given.
Let's go into it, Toni. Let's do it.
Would you mind sharing with us in your words what did happen?
So I had a 17-year-old son. Look, he was, they tried to diagnose him with ADHD, had learning difficulties. There was a lot of things with him when he was growing up. He left school in grade 10. He got a trade because that's all he's ever wanted to do is just work with his hands. Thinking he was at quite a good stage in his life. And at the age of 17, he took his life. Very unexpected.
Yeah, I think, it's so hard, but I think when I spoke to you about this, your attitude about it and I guess the way that you view it is, to me, comes from such a place of wisdom, and not denying the grief that would come with that, but to be able to see it from the place that you do. And also, I feel like you knew your child. You knew where he was at and where he was coming from, and yeah, I find that really interesting. Also inspiring because of how you view it. Also, I find it interesting that if there were any, I don't know, thoughts within you that it wasn't meant to be, and it's very difficult to say something like that's meant to be or for people to accept. But I think when you saw yourself walk off as the African man and he went because it was his time, I suppose, and he went by choice. Did that make you feel differently about when your son went, or had you already made peace with the fact that he had gone home?
I feel like I have made a lot of peace. Yeah, look, it's a journey and it's that spiritual journey. But as I said to you the other day, I believe everyone comes here with a soul contract, and he had fulfilled his contract. As much as I may have believed that that wasn't how his story was supposed to be written, it's irrelevant, really. And I guess I just look at it, what's there for me to learn from that experience, because obviously we chose this, and yeah, what is it that I had to draw from that? So it was actually interesting then, referring back to the regression, and how much peace he had when he went to sleep. So yes, in relation to that, maybe it did give me a little bit more peace as well.
Yeah.
The part that probably rings a little bit more true, Toni, was when his wife got sick as well, and how heavy he felt. And that's when I had the emotion. That's when I cried. And I think maybe that's the release that I needed to have as well, as much as I think I'm dealing with it. And I do believe that, yeah, it's been a journey. But yeah, I just, because of my beliefs that he has his contract, I have mine. Now what's there for me to learn, and what can I do now to my contract and, you know, leave his legacy? So that's where my healing's a little focused on children as well, and mental health. So yeah, but I think the regression maybe helped a little bit of that heaviness that maybe I didn't realize I had there, Toni, because that's what I really remember, is that real heaviness on my heart, and that's how I felt, obviously. Yeah. So
Yeah. Oh, thank you for talking about that with us. I feel like this is why I want to talk about your purpose as far as it's written a little bit, to give people context, because you felt all that yourself and you knew it before. And I do feel like most people, maybe not most, but a lot of people do have a knowing of what they're doing here. So you are in our life map system, which we developed to help people understand what their mission is. So we developed it to outline that mission more easily. So your mission is number 3. We've talked about this. We call you the performer. So you have this placement which makes you able to articulate in your communication style that is this natural capacity to reach people easily. You don't trip over your words. Everyone will have heard what you've said now. You're very succinct. You can articulate easily what you mean, what you felt, what you know. And there's a gift in that. It's part of your purpose, and it's why you have that placement. So this amazing communication style. And also part of this mission as the performer, number 3, is this natural ability to actually speak in front of people, and also the strength to share your beliefs. And despite what anyone else might think or believe, you're willing to share your beliefs. And also one big placement that you have as well, it's because you're born on a number 7 day, is that you must experience firsthand. So nothing that you do in life is actually going to come because someone else told you. You're going to try it for yourself or first. And what you then do is articulate it well to other people. So you're teaching them through your experiences, and other people do learn from that. So I think given that I mean, it's not just about what happened with your son. It's so much more than that. It's kind of just gives a richness to the purpose of life, and maybe help people see that things that happen aren't always as traumatic as they think. Gosh, I'm not meaning to undermine it, but it's been your experience, and you've just told us that you felt there was purpose in it. And you felt that it was part of the contract that you came with. And that is actually how it works. Each of us come with our plan, and it's agreed to before we're born. So I think for you, what you're doing in the healing realms, and especially with young people, I feel like, because we know they changed after the year 2000, mainly because they have a more sensitive side to them, because they all have the number 2 in their life map, whereas we all had a number 1 being born in the 19 whatever, which is male energy. This is a very simple way to put it. The new ones all have an element of female energy, which comes through the 2 energy. So what you'll do now in your mission is go on and continue to help people. Maybe it takes a little different trajectory from now, but one way or another, you're here to help, and it's really special. And I am so happy to know you and to be a part of your journey, and even just to hear your wisdom. So yeah, I think it would be wonderful to have you back when you have your new venture set up, so that we can talk about how it's going and what's going on for you as well. So I think people want to hear, you know, how things all turn out and all of that. So yeah, is there anything you would like to add? Do you feel like you've got any words that you'd like to say to anyone who is feeling, I guess, burdened, or feeling like they've been a failure? Forgot to say that past life, you were told that the purpose was to experience feeling of failure. And what happens in terms of when someone recalls that kind of thing in a past life, there's no need to do that now. So to be burdened by feeling a failure in this life isn't going to happen. It's been done. You did it in that past life. So yeah, no need to endure it this time. Instead, you can take the boost of actually knowing what to mix together and how to help people. So yeah, do you have any final words for anyone who might be in a similar situation or had an experience like you did?
Probably just to drop out of your head space down into your heart space. So it's our head, it's all those questions, like what are those, what could I have done, those other things. So it's getting out of the head, it's dropping down into that heart space and dealing with the emotions there, I think. And once you can do that, I think you'll find a little bit more peace.
Something serendipitous happened when you were celebrating in an Australian pub recently. Can you tell us about that?
We were on a road trip. We're heading down south, and we were staying overnight because it was my partner's birthday. So we're staying overnight in Moree. So we went down to the pub to have some dinner. And when we went into the pub, I actually noticed an Aboriginal gentleman at the bar, and he was showing the publicans some pictures, some drawings that he had done, and they were just amazing. And then he had a separate book that he was actually doing drawings in there for an autistic girl. So she had like a colouring book, and his artwork was just amazing. And I just approached him and asked if I could buy his artwork. He was a little bit blown away because he truly just does it for the love of it. He wasn't up to selling his artwork, but he was more than happy to sell it to me, which was amazing. And then, yeah, later on, it was interesting. We're actually outside after having dinner, and one of his friends, another Aboriginal lady, actually approached me. And she said to me, she goes, I know this is really random, but she said, I'm a conduit, and I've just got something to tell you. She said, you just need to let go. And I looked at her a little bit weird, and we got talking a little bit. And she said, yeah, she said, it is your son. She said, he just needs to tell you that he's okay and that you need to let go because he is just fine. So, yeah, look, that was it. That was an interesting.
Did you feel at peace after that? And did you question it?
Not overly. I probably just realised that I did actually have more healing to do. So even though I thought I was in not a bad place after all the years, but yeah, obviously I still had more work to do. So I guess that's one of the reasons I did reach out for regression, because I felt like I'd done a lot of my own. I've been on my own journey trying to do as much as I could, lifting that weight, but maybe I just needed that little extra hand. So yeah.
Serendipity took care of it, sent her your way. Oh gosh. Abbey, I wonder if you have what words of wisdom would you like to leave with us for our listeners?
So Toni, probably just in the healing realm, we always look at the physical side of healing, and there's so much more to it. It's such a holistic approach. And I feel like the emotional side of our healing is a lot more important, because that emotional manifests into the physical. And that's, so if we can deal with that emotion first before that manifestation, and that's where I just felt that regression was amazing, because we could just identify something that obviously I needed to let go and do a little bit more work on my side. So
I think that the regression comes from a perspective that we're not expecting. And I guess it's because it's coming from a higher perspective. And we do it at a time when it's going to point something out to us that we really need to know to make this life better, and to make, in your case, this healing journey better in the moment, or maybe finalize it to some certain extent. So thank you for sharing.
no worries. Thank you,
Thanks for
Toni.
being a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
So let's talk now to Abbey, and we're going to dive deep.
Hey there, we're back. Hopefully you enjoyed our interview with Abbey. Oh gosh. Okay, so there's a few things that Coco and I wanted to talk to you about post listening to Abbey's session.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is her son, Leighton. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about Leighton's birthday so that you can understand that there's purpose in his life and in early death. So one of the things we're going to talk about is Leighton's birthday. So he was in our life map system. He's born on the 2nd of the 12th, 2003. So there's a lot of 2 energy in here, but he was overall a life mission 1. And through his mission, Coco, you're going to help us fill in details on this, but being a 1, he was a 10-1. And what we know that to mean is at the age of 10, there's a knowing of what our purpose brings. So given that he is in the role of the leader, Life Mission 1, some souls come to pave the way for a new perspective. And that is what Leighton, Abbey's son, has done. Because what has happened as part of both of their purpose, given that she was affected, of course, there's many other people affected too. But in this case, Abbey and his purpose intertwine, and she knows on a soul level and consciously what the purpose was as she continues with her healing work in this life. So this knowing, of course, doesn't remove any grief that she suffered and that the people around do, but there's purpose in that as well. So Coco, what do you have to add about Leighton's birth date or his chart that we can discuss?
Just having a look at it, obviously I can see the main thing is he is that life mission number 1, which you've gone on to explain, but working into a bit more of the details of his life map, I can see the main thing I can see is he has what's called arrow of the planner, which basically means he needs to be organized in a system to stay sane or operate at his optimum best. If he's got like literally a calendar and things, he can just have a nice system. He's got a start point and end point and can execute that way. So that would be super helpful for him if he has that, if he had that throughout his life, to be able to work or be at his most efficient. However, if you turn that on the flip side and he wasn't able to have that for some reason, then I guess things can start to build in and to happen.
Spiral.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing is he would have had quite a lot of knowledge coming in from his intuition and a lot of knowing from the day he was born on this earth, and probably almost like a running race starting, like if it's a 5-kilometer race, he's starting 2 or 3 kilometers ahead of everyone else. So he was constantly always ahead, which is, I guess, a good thing, you would think. But if you're ahead of everyone else, it's difficult to fit in and to feel like you belong, and those types of things can start to come in. And potentially, as Abbey mentioned in that interview with you, he was, they attempted the doctors to diagnose him with ADHD and things like that, which that's where it can come in with those two things I just mentioned, as he needs to keep busy all the time and have a plan for everything to be sane. But yeah, did you notice anything with that?
With it playing out, what she knew about how he didn't feel like he fit in. Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess we see that, let's just say we see that with a lot of people, or young people, particularly in this day and age, where they don't have all of the numbers in their chart, but they have an abundance of certain numbers. But it certainly doesn't mean that they're going to opt out early. But in this case, we're just trying to show how it was purposeful and pre-planned for him to leave the planet in this way, and at that particular age to have such a purpose. But also in Leighton's map, he had 3 number 2s. So when we talk briefly about the 2 energy, it's that it's soft energy, it's intuitive energy, it's very feeling energy. And when you have 3 of those, you're feeling everything around, you're feeling other people's emotions, your own emotions. And I think what happens is it gets all confusing, and before you understand energy, it can be really difficult to process all that. And it's something that we see a lot with the young people today. And so it's really important for us to educate them, but also their parents and their grandparents. But anyone, probably the grandparents are actually key, because they calm down a little bit and they're much more able to relate to the kids. But also a lot of the parents of these age group, they're millennial usually. At this point they are anyway. And they seem to have been born also with somewhat of an inherent ability to nurture and relate to these extra sensitive kids. So
on that, I think this might not be the time to delve into it, but just if we can have a minute on it, the ADHD and spectrum and all these types of things and terms and titles are almost coming to the forefront and becoming apparent, and it seems like every second person has it. So does that relate at all to the charts and what you're talking about, or why is that coming to the forefront, it seems, in 2024 and the last few years?
I think that from my observations, I think that it always existed. It always existed, but maybe it was called something else. Maybe it was never labeled for many people. And really, in some ways, it really is just the way that a person is. But I think as we're becoming a bit more self-aware, and of course that potentially involves labels, then people can feel better about coming under a category, because it makes them feel better about who they are. But I think that's my caveat for what's going on now, that it does seem to be extra prevalent, but I think it's more just that the world is smaller now because we have so much communication across the board with social media and the like, that
Yeah.
it seems like it's more there. But I know that, Coco, I know that in my realms of friendships and similar age group, that
Yeah.
it exists in
Yeah.
a quite a vast capacity, probably to the same percentage as we see in the young people. But we know that there's a lot more sensitivity with their softness. So the fact that they're picking up on a lot of other people
Yeah.
as well. Yes. So it's all very interesting, isn't it? Coco, I did want to talk to you or discuss that with Abbey's session in relation to death by suicide,
Yep.
she experienced, as the African man, that he chose to go home in that way. And
Yep.
she realized how calm it felt. And we see that in regression. Almost everyone at the death scene feels calm, they're ready. But so death by suicide in some ways is just another way to go home, to leave the body. But what in this case, the regression also helped her understand what her son potentially felt like, because the reason in that past life that she, as the African man, ended his life is the anguish that he felt at not being able to save his wife from the illness that she had was too much. And I think that was able to help Abbey understand where her son may have been at the point when he decided to go. And you also, Coco, you also died by suicide in your very first past life regression. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like for you?
Yeah, it was pretty much similar to what Abbey said with hers. Yeah, my guy, or who I was in that life, he had just reached a point. I think it was depression, or just everything was too much, and then he decided to leave his body. But it was not distraught's not the right word, but it wasn't painful or anything like that. It was quite peaceful, which I really resonated when listening to Abbey's interview, saying that that's exactly what I would say. And I also have had many different past lives, and obviously you have to leave your body one way or another. And however I've done it, whether it was through suicide, illness, old age, a gunshot or stabbing, something like that, as gory as you want or as peaceful as you like to think about it, they were all they all had the same moment and almost the emotions taken out of it, and it is purely and literally a way to leave your body. So
yeah. And I too have had many regressions and died in many varied ways, and it is always peaceful and calm.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one of the side effects of regression, is you do realize that death is not the end is one thing, but also
Absolutely.
that by the time we get to that stage in life, we're ready, I guess, because it's pre-planned and our soul knows. So but I think in our upcoming episodes of this podcast, we're going to be discussing death in various ways, not to be depressive or to alarm people, but to bring some peace and to help them understand that, particularly for people who are suffering because they've lost someone through death by suicide and they feel guilty for it, or they're torturing themselves by maybe not noticing the signs, or because often there aren't any. In fact, most of the time there aren't any. So, and then people beat themselves up and create some real pain for themselves, and they're left here to deal with it. But yes, we want to help them understand, make some peace with what's happened through these next but through this podcast one way or another.
Yeah.
So that's our intention. Let's have a look at some Q&A now, and we'll just have a little look in the comments because we're live for this particular episode.
Mhm.
Some of the upcoming episodes won't be live, but while they are, let's have a look at what our listeners are saying. I need to see if I can see. Gloria made a comment. I'm just going to put it up here. Here it comes. So Gloria said she's in total agreement with the title of this show and the idea that tragedy and grief are integral. They truly are. Thanks for your comment, Gloria. It takes a lot to get to this understanding because grief and trauma are they're so hard. Part of the purpose of life, though, and to understand it from a different perspective is really helpful in our journey through life.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for sharing that comment. And let us see what we have here. I have to put my glasses on. Coco, can you read this?
Yeah. I think it's just Ab coming in and saying, you have explained Leighton perfectly with his life path. He was a deep thinker and feeler and needed structure in his life. Thank you, beautiful ladies.
Oh, that must be Abbey. Hey, Abbey. Thanks
Hello.
for joining us. And thank you for being so candid in our interview. Yeah, and it's lovely to hear that you can associate with Leighton's life mission when it's put out there in kind of black and white. Yes, so really good. Now, we have a couple of little things to say. First thing is, if you fancy to find out about your life map or your life mission, we can delve into it and help you understand from any capacity where you're at and where you're going. You don't have to be in grief to get some relief from knowing your mission. Maybe you just feel like you want to know what's coming up, or you're feeling a little bit like you're blocked or lacking direction. So it can help. If you fancy to have that kind of thing, or even a past life regression, you can book a consultation with Coco or myself, or also Tanya is on there, is at tonireillyinstitute.com. That's our website. Yes. And I mentioned this last episode that I was going to be catching up with Peter Ramster, who is the man who in the 1980, the film came out, so he made it in the 70s, the Past Life Experiments. You can find it on YouTube. And I caught up with him in Sydney on this trip that I was on to Canberra, visiting Coco. And so I'll get him on the podcast. We've arranged it. And so we'll have some discussions with him about his life purpose and all of the wonderful work that he's done towards reincarnation and the afterlife too. So, yes. Coco, have you got is there anything that you would like to add before we...
No, that's all. I think it's been good. Yeah.
Yes. Let's pull one card.
All right, great idea.
One quick card, just so that as we say goodbye, we can leave you with a message. So if you're watching this now, or if you're watching this in the replay, and this message resonates, please take it, because it's general and it's for all of us. So here is the card. And this card says, meditate. So, Coco, what do you take from this as a message for everybody?
My message for everyone is to face their truth. So a little bit more on that is yeah, I guess the real things, or the things that feel real for you at the moment or in the past, will be coming up, and yeah, it's time to take them on head on, I guess.
So given that the card says meditate, what we know is when you meditate, you're a bit quieter and you get to develop some self-awareness. You get to develop knowing yourself more and more deeply, and it's really important. So this is about being able to slow down and listen to yourself, listen to what your soul wants you to know on this journey. Also, I've seen a meme on Facebook, and this is reminding me of it, where they put an image of a chair like this, and they say, and the meme says something like, if you could sit with someone on this chair, who would it be? Which alludes to having someone who's passed over coming to talk with you. And we definitely work within the mediumship realms and the afterlife. So maybe another part of this message is, who would you like to visit you? And when you're quiet, they can reach you. So listen out for messages or a feeling from your past over loved ones. They love to connect. What do we have here? Oh, it's a beautiful card. Yes, Marianne. And what deck is it? Oh, okay. That's not even set up. Oh, go. So it's from the Soul Life Philosophy card deck. So it's our deck, and it's got images. Actually, Abbey's sister took all of the images in the deck, and they're all taken in Australia or New Zealand, and we used her images, Cherie's images, and made a deck out of them. So they're all pictures from nature and of animals, basically. So the Soul Life Philosophy card deck. You can get them on the website as well, tonireillyinstitute.com. For now, I would love to say thank you for joining us, and please subscribe and please share so that we can reach more people. What's this comment say? Oh, on the website. Yes, you can get it on the website. And as we always say, regress to progress.
Perfect.
See you next week.
Thank you. See ya.